First off, this video is for you if you want to or have recently been embarking upon a nutrition and fitness health-based journey, and perhaps you're seeing this upcoming holiday as a burden or something you're just wanting to get through. If, however, you're the type of person who is completely okay with yo-yo dieting every season, then you can skip off, because these tips are going to be for individuals who want sustainable, life-altering changes for the better. Before I go into the top 10 tips, please keep in mind that you should not fear the holiday season. Most of my clients that are struggling with their weight or really concerned about their weight fear the holidays. I don't want you to have to adopt that mentality that the holiday is just something to hurry up and get through. I want you to leave this video armed with the tools that you need to enjoy your time. All right, tool number 1, pre-plan your meals. Knowing that this holiday season is usually traditional, you've probably been eating or accustomed to the same meals since you were a little thing. If that's the case, it's very easy to plan around what you know you'll probably be eating that day. In knowing that, you can pre-plan a light, nutritious snack or light meal and eat it before you go to the event. This tip is kind of like not going grocery shopping on an empty stomach. You want to actually have something in your system before you go. So the actionable step you can take is to prepare a healthy, nutritious meal or snack for yourself, such as a salad rich with dark leafy greens, healthy fats, and a healthy lean protein source. Or perhaps you can snack on some small amount of raw unsalted nuts, paired with some healthy fruits. These are just choices, to each their own, but make sure you get something small in your stomach. Huge mistake a lot of my women clients will make is that they will try to fast and then go to the event. This can be catastrophic in my opinion. I have seen a lot of binging issues when this happens. It's just too overwhelming to be extremely hungry, and then you go to the social event and you're inundated with delicious, possibly unhealthy choices, and you're going to want to consume them all because you're super hungry. Set yourself up for success. Tool number 2, choose a smaller plate size. This is the size plate we are used to, a 12-inch diameter of a plate. The plates have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we decide that we must fill the plate because it's satisfying to make sure there's no empty space on the plate. Knowing that we are creatures of habit in this way, choose a smaller plate. For me, I opt more for an 8-inch plate. For someone larger than me, or taller than me rather, they might want to opt for a 10-inch plate. Nobody should really aim for the 12-inch plate because sometimes I see 3-story buildings on the 12-inch plate. Now, the actionable step you can take with this small plate, because as I said, some people are going to pile it high. We don't want to do that. If you've got this plate, half of it should be filled with the vegetable items. So choosing your favorites and putting half the plate filled with veggies. And then depending on your preferred source of energy, if you're opting for more of a keto-based or low-carb diet, or if you're not, will determine the rest of the plate. But in general, at least a quarter of the plate to a third, you want a lean protein source. And the rest can be grains and carbohydrates if you're choosing to consume them. Tip number 3, hydrate wisely. I say this because water can help us feel more full and help us curb our cravings. One other tip is to add about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons in 8 to 12 ounces of water of apple cider vinegar. Consuming this about 30 minutes before your meal can aid in digestion, but it can also help reduce cravings. Try to drink a small glass of water before consuming a meal, and make sure you limit or remove alcoholic beverage consumption entirely. This brings me to tip number 4. Drinks matter. Make sure you control them. And by drinks, I'm not just talking about alcoholic beverages. I'm talking about juices, sodas, coffees, teas. These are all things we need to be thinking about. Some of us put milk and creamer and sugar and honey in these drinks. The juices as well. They're going to be calories. They're going to be added sugars. Just as one example, one of my favorite blackberry lemonades that I like to consume is about 280 calories for the entire cup. Things add up. Not to mention, if you're drinking a high amount of alcoholic beverages or just any in general, it is going to be adding no beneficial nutrients to your day. Next tip, mindful eating. Eat slowly. Savor each bite. This is so crucial, especially during the holiday season. You're talking, you're enjoying time with friends and family, and sometimes the food can be a secondary thought. We're just putting it in our bodies, we're getting another plate, we're just mindlessly consuming. Make sure that you feel the texture, you look at the food, identify what's on your plate, and take a moment to think about it. You will be amazed at what this simple practice of slowing down your chewing, thinking about the textures and the sensations can do for curbing cravings and reducing that feeling of hunger that is not true hunger, but rather craving. So, an actionable step you can take just to try this out is put your fork down after a few bites. Think about the color of your food. Think about the texture. Think about where it came from. Think about the person who cooked it for you. Think about you who cooked it if you were the one that made the food. Think about when it went into the process of creating this food. Not only can this be exceptional for reducing hunger and cravings, it can also really help to cultivate gratitude. And in doing so, reduce stress. Next tip and tool, prioritize your favorites. Oftentimes, we already know going into the holidays what will probably be a choice to consume, considering a lot of these meals are traditional. Nevertheless, we can always identify our favorites as soon as we see them, or at least almost as soon as we see them. Because there's going to be an overabundance of food choices during the holiday season, choose the favorites, the ones you love, and skip the ones you don't care so much about. This can not only help you ensure that you don't overconsume in calories, but also enjoy yourself to the fullest. Therefore, an actionable step as an example you can take for this particular tool is, if you love pumpkin pie, have a slice of pumpkin pie, but skip out on those cookies that are prepackaged or pre-made that you can just buy from the store at any time. Next tip, stay active. If you can, during that day, incorporate some type of enjoyable activity. An actionable step you can take to implement this strategy into your new healthy holiday routine is encourage everyone or somebody that you love to come with you on a walk before the meal or after the meal. You could also consider engaging in some games, such as a family game of soccer or a game of cornhole with friends. No matter what, make sure that you guys are having fun. And being very real, there's some people that are going to say, but I've never done that before. That's not what we do for our holiday season. If not, that's okay. But here might be a fantastic opportunity for you to be the leader in a life-changing event for the rest of your family and loved ones. So try it out. The worst thing that could happen is that nobody likes it and then they exile you and never talk to you again. But realistically, that shouldn't happen. And what I have to tell people is you have to prioritize yourself. If you've got friends and family that treat you that bad and don't support you in your health endeavors, then you need to surround yourself with an environment that does support your incredibly healthy choices. There's a famous quote that I love from Dr. Seuss. Those who mind don't matter. Those who matter don't mind. All right, next tip, healthy recipe swaps. Okay, this one takes a little bit of thought, especially if you're making the food and if you're depending on how close you are to the individuals that you're going to be experiencing the holiday event with, making those suggestions for them. So here's one example as an actionable step you can take to modify a recipe. Instead of rice in a recipe, experiment with adding varying degree of cauliflowered rice to the recipe. This can reduce the amount of simple carbohydrates and calories that are in the recipe, making it healthier and getting you some good vegetables. Another modification is to change the cooking style. Instead of frying something in oil, consider air frying or baking the food item instead. Another big one is the use of spices. Using herbs and spices other than salt can help reduce the amount of salt and or butter that we end up using in the actual recipe. As one odd example that works very well for me is I found that balsamic vinaigrette, red wine vinegars, mustards as well, not a combination, but sometimes independent of each other, added to certain recipes where it works, can significantly remove or reduce or remove entirely the salt that I would have normally used in the recipe. Adding black pepper can help as well. These are just some examples. Next tip is extremely valuable, and it's one that can be very challenging. Learn how to say no. The biggest challenge that I experienced was that my family and friends ended up seeming very concerned about my well-being because I was not eating as much as I used to in the past during holidays. There will be friends and family that will offer things to you, food, beverages, but if you don't want it, it's okay to say, no, thank you. You're not going to hurt them as you would expect, especially if you say, no, actually, I feel better making this decision. I'm happy. If you share it in that way, then it will make sure that your friends and family do not feel like something's going wrong with you, especially if you ensure to them, I'm happy making this choice. I feel great. No, thank you. Next tip, portion control for desserts. I have, to this day, the world's biggest sweet tooth. However, I'm able to manage it. Portion control is extremely vital. You will be tempted to fill an entire plate with all of your dessert items, eat it, and go back and get seconds and thirds and fourths and fifths, because that's what the holiday season is about. But here is the learning process. In order to have a healthy change in your life, you're going to have to change something. This is one of the behaviors that needs to be changed. Being able to take a small slice of dessert with a small amount of whatever with it, like ice cream, just as an example, is enough. There has been research to show that 3 decadent bites of a dessert is enough to satisfy the sweet tooth. Consider that approach. If you have somebody that you can split dessert with, I strongly recommend giving this a try. I always split my desserts with my husband, so that way I can still enjoy my desserts, but I never eat the entire thing. Taking 3 decadent bites, slowing down, mindfully consuming it, thinking about the sensations is more than enough to curb the cravings and to satisfy the sweet tooth. You will find that anything after that is habitual and mindless. It's after this point that we can start to experience some significant issues with our health. Going alongside portion control for desserts, a big factor that has led to my success has been stevia sweetened dessert flavored tea. I don't add any creamer, I don't add any milk to it, I just have tea. I know it sounds odd, but it really helps satisfy my sweet tooth to the point where sometimes I don't even need dessert. I'll give some links in the description below to some of my favorites that have helped me out. With no added sweeteners other than stevia, it's a 0-calorie way to satisfy the sweet tooth. All right, bonus tip. Focus on socializing, not just eating. This one's a big one. The holidays for so many people are about eating constantly and having desserts after desserts after desserts. But the whole purpose of holiday is supposed to be around friends or family or both. So while it may sound like a simple solution, sometimes it can be harder to know how to try to do this. An actionable step you can take to socialize more instead of focusing solely on eating is to talk to people more. Put down the fork, look them in the eye, engage in the conversation. Don't think about your plate. Think about what they are feeling, experiencing, and doing. Share your stories with them about what you are feeling, experiencing, and doing. You'll find that this sort of mindfulness and presence will change your holiday experience. It may even bring you closer to friends and family. So there you have it. Those are my tools and tips to arm you in your journey to experience the best holiday season ever in health and wellness and vitality. No more fearing the burden that once was the holiday season. By implementing these strategies, you can enjoy the holiday season while maintaining a healthy diet. Now you're ready. It's about making smart choices, not depriving yourself. All right, take care, enjoy the holiday season, and always remember your health is an investment, not an expense.